I'm Robin Chapple, Greens MLC for the Mining and Pastoral region. Welcome to the first video edition of Robin's Roundup. The Mining and Pastoral electorate is one of the largest in the world, covering 2.2 million square kilometres. From Esperance to Kununurra, Port Hedland to Kalgoorlie, and from Warburton to Broome, it is a vast area with a vast diversity of land, people and issues. Over the next few minutes, I'd like to let you know about some of the issues that I've been covering in 2010. The Dampier Archipelago and the Burrup Peninsula contain the largest collection of ancient rock art anywhere in the world, and this, unfortunately, is still under threat from industry. There is currently no heritage protection for the area and nothing to prevent further industrial development on the Burrup, nor indeed the continued theft or vandalism of the rock art. This is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about the Burrup. This is my first occasion of actually seeing this particular carving. It's one of the really oldest ones. It's in that period that goes back to 30,000 years ago. It's highly articulate and it's in negative relief. And that's really what makes some of this rock art so special in a global context. It's not done anywhere else. And here on the Burrup, amongst these rocks around us, there are hundreds of carvings like this. There are millions of carvings that follow on from this date to the modern time. But this is most probably one of the earliest faces on the planet, and indeed it is most probably one of the oldest carvings on the planet. And it's out here in this marvellous place we call the Burrup. I will continue fighting to gain World Heritage status for the Burrup, to ensure that what remains of this incredible place is protected for all time. In the Kimberley, environmental and human heritage are threatened by the drive to open up the region to industrial development. This drive began in 2005 when the state government started to plan for mining and processing operations in the region. The proposal for an LNG processing facility at James Bryce Point is the first of many large-scale developments to emerge from this plan. This facility has become the focal point for the community's fight against the trashing of country for short-term gain. The drive towards industrialising the Kimberley took another ominous step recently with the proposal to mine and export coal from the region. Under a proposal by Ray Resources, the floodplain of the lower Fitzroy River between Broome and Derby is to be strip mined for coal. Coal would be exported to India from the environmentally fragile Point Torment north of Derby. And there is another proposal, this time from Pegasus Metals, to mine copper at the horizontal waterfall, a Kimberley icon and one of the region's biggest tourism drawcards. If allowed to proceed, these and many other proposed projects will cause irreparable damage to the environment, heritage and tourism values of the magnificent Kimberley. The Greens and I have been active in supporting the local community in protecting the integrity of their region. The state of occupational health and safety in WA's mining industry was an issue I tackled head-on this year, with some great results. I responded to concerns raised by dozens of workers in the goldfields and the Pilbara by asking hundreds of questions of the Minister for Mines. This eventually forced an inquiry into the effectiveness of the Resource Safety Division of the Department of Mines and Petroleum. The safety issues raised and successfully addressed included the unsafe storage of explosives, poor ventilation, unhygienic toilet facilities, unsafe vehicles, racial discrimination, and indeed workplace bullying. The questions asked forced several mines to refit their underground workings and change their practices to meet occupational health and safety requirements. Thanks to the courage of the workers who came forward, we succeeded in putting the industry and the Department of Mines and Petroleum on notice that worker safety must always be foremost on site. Water usage throughout the Pilbara has now reached unsustainable levels, with the mining sector using almost 200 gigalitres a year. Meanwhile, water allocations are not available to expand housing projects in Port Hedland. The outcome of this is that the government has now decided to build a desalination plant for the Karratha region. This is one of the most expensive, energy-consuming and carbon-intensive utilities a community can be provided with. What the Pilbara needs is better control of this limited resource, rather than the current unrestricted access to and waste of water by the mining sector. One of the most pressing issues for Pilbara and Kimberley residents is the effect that the so-called two-speed economy is having on their communities. The cost and availability of housing throughout the mining and pastoral region is a huge concern. For community members who are not employed by the mining sector, and for the non-government sector, rentals are now largely unaffordable. This has now reached ridiculous levels in Karratha and Port Hedland. This year I have lobbied both industry and the state government to bring about an improvement in the situation. As a result, some of the big miners and the Department of Housing are now working together to make housing available to the non-government organisations. I will continue to press both the government and the private sector to resolve the social housing challenges in the mining and pastoral region. Climate change remains the single largest issue that faces us as a society. As a result of the boom in coal and gas, Western Australia is rapidly becoming the largest per capita emitter of greenhouse gases in the world. In 1995, Western Australia's emissions were 54 million tonnes of CO2 per year. Our current emissions are approximately 80 million tonnes per annum. This is projected to increase to 125 million tonnes in the near future. All of this while the rest of the world is waking up to the need to cut their emissions to at least the 1995 levels. I have repeatedly witnessed the Barnett government demonstrating its basic lack of understanding of the impacts of climate change, and a criminal unwillingness to take real action on the state's burgeoning emissions. The state refuses to even measure the carbon footprint of individual industries in this state, insisting that this is a Commonwealth matter. In partnership with my colleague Senator Scott Ludlam, I'm in the process of collating accurate figures for WA's total emissions by sector. I hope to make this data available in early 2011. This year, I introduced legislation that would implement a gross feed-in tariff for WA householders investing in rooftop solar energy. Unlike the state government's paltry net feed-in tariff, this measure will provide a real incentive for a mass take-up of renewable energy generation and a corresponding decrease in our spiralling emissions. As 2010 draws to a close, I'd like to pay tribute to two important people of the region. The first is a Ngalia woman, Palu from the Leonora area, and the second is Malcolm Douglas of Broome. These two were both tireless workers for their regions. Palu for her people's heritage and future, and Malcolm for the conservation of his beloved Kimberley. I will miss them both. That's all for now. Have a fun and safe festive season, and I look forward to catching up with you again on the next edition of Robin's Roundup.